Hello, my dears, Daniela here, and welcome to another episode of the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. This marks the beginning of a very cool monthly series that's going to take you behind the scenes of what it actually takes to build a multi-6 or 7-figure spa business. So starting today, each month from now all the way through December of 2020, we're going to be doing an interview with Sara and Melissa, who are the founders of Sykes and Lanno Skinbar in Marlton, New Jersey. Sara and Melissa both worked together at a corporate chain spa before deciding to go out on their own at the very beginning of 2019. And they will hit 6 figures in year 1 of their business. What an accomplishment. Now, Sara and Melissa are both in our Growth Factor program, which is a program that we created for estheticians and spa owners who have already hit 6 figures and have their sights set on the next big goal, which is 7 figures. Growth Factor is part high-level coaching, part one-on-one work, part done-for-you resources, and we've got a couple of live events thrown in there as well. So as you'll see in the interview, Sara and Melissa are both very down to earth and very open people. They're going to tell it like it is, which is something that honestly I think is desperately needed in our industry. You've got to see the good, the bad, and the ugly of what it really takes to build a spa business at that level. So in this first interview, I want you to just get to know these two absolutely incredible women. I'm sure that you will love them and look forward to connecting with them month after month. So without further ado, let's go ahead and play that interview. All right, Sara and Melissa, I'm so happy to have you here on the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us on. We're so excited.
Well, this is really episode 1, the start of a year-long journey for you guys. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually so excited about this. And this was actually Sara's idea. So Sara was the one that pitched me, and I was like, what we're doing, you guys, just for everyone to know who's listening, Sara and Melissa are in our Growth Factor program. And we were talking about Growth Factor inside of Spa Retail Rockstar. Now, Growth Factor is our high-level coaching. Our goal is to get our business owners to 7 figures. So this is very high-level strategy, high-level coaching calls, masterminds, and done-for-you resources. And Sara, when I was on the Facebook Live, said, it'd be so awesome to see behind the scenes of that. I would watch that as a TV show every day. And that really stuck with me. And I was like, actually, that would be pretty awesome. So why don't we do that, but on the podcast? And so obviously I was like, okay, well, Sara came up with the idea. So I'm going to ask them to be the ones to do this. And we're going to take you through the entire Growth Factor program, the entire year. And you guys are just going to share with us the behind the scenes of what's happening in your business, how it's changed, the good, the bad, the ugly, and just so people can see the transformation and also what it really takes to get your business to that next level. Because I don't think that kind of stuff is talked about enough.
It's not. I don't think that people understand what actually goes into it. I think they almost see the glamorous side aside from it. Like, oh, you get to be in this atmosphere every single day and do something that you love, which we are so grateful we love it. But there's so much more that goes behind the scenes that people don't typically see.
Of the real work that it takes. And it's not like, you are both moms. You're both wives. It's not like you just have, 24 hours a day to dedicate to your business. Your family obviously comes first. So I think it's really important to see how can you make this work in a way, because you guys have you finished year 1? December is year 1 of your business.
Yeah, we're almost there. So we opened January 3rd officially, but we had our spa reveal in December of last year. So we haven't even completed a full year yet.
So what is that first year? Let's just start there and talk about that. Like, what's your first year?
The first year, oh my goodness. So a lot of excitement, a lot of nerves, obviously.
Trial and error, late nights, early mornings.
Really, I think we put our heart and soul into this regardless of the time that was needed. We said to each other, like, when this began, we were like, get ready, because
say goodbye to your life.
This next year is going to put you through something you've never experienced before. And we were so ready and excited for it that we were willing to do it. And we're so grateful that we did.
So what do you think, if you had to pick what your biggest challenge was over the past year of getting this business off the ground, what would you say it's been?
Probably just understanding how to actually bring people in the door. Selling ourselves isn't an issue. It's more of like getting people to come in.
Mm-hmm. We always said, we were like, as soon as we can get someone in the door, we know that we can keep them. It's just, how are we going to bring them in? And we are so fortunate that we actually own a spot in the town that we both live in. We're very active in the community. So that has been a blessing to us. But still, sometimes, like, you have friends, you have acquaintances, and sometimes that doesn't always necessarily mean that they're going to come to your business. So you can't rely on family and friends for that. You really need to be thinking outside of the box and figuring out ways to market yourself and your business to be able to attract the clientele and then to retain them.
Right. And who is your ideal client?
It's funny because we talk about this often. We don't necessarily have an ideal client because we work with girls that are super young, like even as young as 11, working on problematic skin. If they're starting to get breakouts, or just teaching them about skin health all the way up to their 80s. We don't even have, I don't really have one.
Well, the only thing that I would say is, an age definitely, or gender, it does not attract our clientele, is not what we are looking for. What we're looking for is someone who cares genuinely about skin and skin health. And that is our, I guess, ideal client.
Yeah, and that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, I was going to say to Sarah, yes, you do have an ideal client.
Right.
Because everybody does, but sometimes it's just not as cookie cutter as,
right.
5 to 55-year-old female with discretionary income of whatever. But you guys are I think one thing that I know about you is that you're very focused on education and skin health, which, goes across the board. Like,
right.
Everybody has skin. So it's a type of person and a type of approach and philosophy that you guys have of attracting your people, which actually can be a little more challenging because when you're looking at Facebook ads or targeting people in a specific way, you can't necessarily do that when it's like, who cares about skin health? You can, there are ways around it, but it's just not as cookie cutter as some of the other ideal clients would be. Right. So just to give our listeners an idea, have you guys hit 6 figures in year 1?
We're not there yet, but we're projected to do so. Yes.
Awesome. So that's fantastic in year 1. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That says a lot about who you are as business individuals. Like, my first year in business, I did a whopping 20 grand. So I was like, okay. Yeah. And now, like, okay, thankfully I've moved way past that 20 grand. but it really says a lot about you and the skill and dedication, and shows that it's possible, because that it tends to be kind of the first milestone. So what is your goal for 2020?
I think our goal is to at least, we want to double it or surpass doubling.
Okay.
But obviously we want, with the growth factor, we want 7 figures.
We're going to do more than that. Yeah. We're going to do, like when you have this beginning momentum, if you've done 100 or get to, 100 in your first year, I think it's very, very reasonable to shoot for like 5 to 6 for year 2.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very close to what we wanted.
That's what we want. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think if you would have asked us 5 months ago, we would have been like, I'm not sure. The first year is very telling as to what we know we're capable of. And also be mindful that our first 4, almost full 5 months of business being open, we were working in 2 places at once. So
oh yeah. Okay. So
we could have probably made that much more if we had simply been here.
Yeah.
And we have nothing to reference back to. There was no LY. So obviously holiday season's coming up and we have really large goals, but there's really nothing to compare to as of last year, which is completely fine because I know we're going to hit those goals or surpass them. But I think next year will be much easier to set realistic goals and then kind of go above that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I just, one thing that's really important to me is that use of the word realistic. And because I think that in the world of business and brick and mortar and corporate, we hear so many people that are like, well, if you're doing 10% over last year, you're doing great. That's like the benchmark of like, oh, 10%, that's like a big, but I don't want to increase by 10%. 10% is peanuts, and especially when you're in a new, so is that going to take you 10 years to get to 7 figures? No, I personally have been a part of the management team that built 2 different spas to 7 figures in 2 years. And so it is absolutely possible. So if you are limiting yourself by looking at, well, last year we did this, that's living in the past. And that's not thinking about the possibility that you have available to you in the future. I think my assessment of your guys' biggest limitation is that there's 2 of you. So it's, you have 4 hands, right? So it's like, how many people can you see? That for me is going to be your limiting factor unless you choose to hire. But that's a whole nother, I'm sure that we'll get into that as we go through growth factor and go through the different things of like, what do you want in your business? And do you want to have employees? Do you want to train? Do you want to, which is important because there's not a right or wrong answer, but it does set certain boundaries on earning potential based on how many, hours in the day you have if your primary source of income is from doing treatments.
And we talk about that all the time. And we realize that we need to have multiple streams of income in order to get us to a certain place. So we are very much aware of that. And we do have limitations because it is just the 2 of us. And I think for the first year, we really wanted to establish a brand, really, let people come to Sykes and Lanno for Sara and I, but I think that if we're able to mold people the Sykes and Lanno way, that those clients will still come.
Oh yeah.
First year, it was important for us to establish our corrective skincare approach with being the bridge between a day spa and a medical setting, and the fact that that doesn't exist where we live. We're only the ones that can communicate that to people and educate them and make them understand why us. Right. And then we can bring on people once people know who we are now. We actually just bumped into somebody at a bridal expo that we were just at. And she's like, oh, I actually came to your spa, but you guys weren't there. And we're like, oh, people know who we are. we're by appointment only, but we're like, oh.
We're not hiring, but people are applying.
So many people are applying.
That's a good sign. And it sounds like maybe you need to extend your hours a little bit.
We had, I think it's more of two, like we are only, like you said, 2 people. So then we do have children and we are moms. So obviously we have to go pick our children up from school. Right. Or things like that. And it seems like there's always like a window of time that we're not both here together, something like that. And that's when people happen to come.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you, Sara, if you had to say Melissa's greatest strength in the business, what would you say it is?
I would say probably
I'm going to ask you the same question.
I would probably say just she really wants to have a plan and she's focused and she's innovative and she'll be like, well, how can we make more money? Like she said, multiple streams of income, but she is very business savvy. So I think what she thinks, she can put things together in a nice little box. So I can say like, oh, we could do this. And then she'll like almost put it in a frame, bundle it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Melissa, what do you think is Sara's greatest strength?
Sara takes all of my ideas and bundles them up, just like she said. I think it's like actually like very similar because we very much so piggyback off of each other. So there is so much conversation and collaboration between the two of us. And there will be times where she'll be like, yeah, no, not a good idea right now. Let's wait until this time. And I think it'll roll out much better. So it's great because she has that like constructive criticism, I feel like, that kind of keeps us grounded, which is really awesome because my ideas go flying all the time. So she kind of like keeps us grounded, keeps us together. She's amazing at spreadsheets.
Oh, really?
I want absolutely, I know this sounds terrible, but the tedious tasks are not for me. I love them. Yeah, she is absolutely amazing at that.
Have you guys seen some of the spreadsheets that we have created in Growth Factor yet? Because they're
no, because I haven't yet because I was just waiting I wanted to do this first.
Yeah. So when we go through, when you guys log in, I think you already have access to the members portal, but we've got, I think 4 up there so far, but they're top notch. I'm thrilled about them. So then
that's awesome.
That's amazing. And I think it's very good, especially when we were actually when we saw you, Justin, was that August?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When we saw you and we were talking about all the things that you had, all the spreadsheets, things for this, we were like, whoa, like very thorough, very thought out. And it just...
sorry to interrupt you, but I think in this industry, that's one thing that's missing so much is when we began this business, obviously our office for the past 10 plus years was a treatment room. Mm-hmm. So obviously we looked at our numbers, we looked at our retail sales, we looked at our conversion rates, we looked at our clientele repeat requests, we looked at all of those things.
But in different reports, right? Pulled up.
Different reports,
absolutely. Never together.
But when you're owning your own business, it's much more complex, and there's no until now book that says, hey, this is the way that you should be doing it. These are the reports that you should be using. These are the formulas that you should be adding everything into and then getting your results, because there's nothing there. So we're so grateful for you because it's going to make our life so much more simplistic. We had to figure a lot of this out on our own the first year, and it was very trying. Very trying.
You don't know what you don't know. And that's the thing is, like, so many estheticians, you go to aesthetic school because you want to be an esthetician, right? You're not thinking, I want to be a business owner. I want to be an entrepreneur. So they're identifying as they go solo, as they start their own business, they're not thinking, oh, I'm an entrepreneur now, but they are. And that needs to be the first thing that they identify with. And it's, everything that I've learned and everything that I have in this program is through my own mistakes of building these businesses and just going like, I don't know any other way to say it, but balls to the wall. Like I was just nuts when I was first starting out and trying everything. And just, I was lucky that I had physicians that I worked with that gave me so much freedom to test and try things out. But these are all the tools that I was like, this is the data that I need in order to make a decision to run my business. It's not just like, I like this facial. It's like, is this facial profitable? What is bringing money into the business, And unfortunately, that's all the boring stuff. But
I like that stuff. I told her, I was like, I wish we had a spreadsheet from SkinCeuticals about how much per pump, like how much that costs. And she's like, only you. I'm like, I want to know.
Do you have the SkinCeuticals Black Book?
Yes, I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
I'm like, I can hook you up if you need it.
Yeah, no, we got it. And we already knew about averagely what cost per treatment was, especially because we do use a lot of advanced modalities. So it's more of like, once the machine's paid off, we're really not, the cost is so low.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So, okay, moving into, let me know what your guys' top 3 goals are for this next year. Like what needs to happen for you to make it be like a breakthrough year? Like this was just an amazing, amazing year.
I think the first thing that we need to do is sign with a private label. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Have an e-commerce.
I think obviously we need to bring in more clientele, which may have to result in bringing in another esthetician because there are only 2 of us. Mm-hmm. But I know that we know that by adding somebody else in is going to increase that revenue dramatically. Yeah. So I would say definitely signing with private label, e-commerce, and
probably like continuing ed. Yeah. There's just such a demand in our area. I'm not sure if you followed on our social media, but we actually go speak at the school we used to go to. Mm-hmm. So we've gone twice now. And the last time that I was there, every girl was just like, oh my gosh, like this is a bunch of things that I don't even know. And I talk in such detail that my husband says I could make somebody that can't see. But
we are soul sisters. I didn't even know.
And but they're really, so the way that it's structured is it's either you go to school and you learn state board things, and then you go to this other continuing ed that they offer, and it's like strictly medical. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing in between in terms of how to retain a client, how to, even for your touch and your flow and things like that. And that's what we used to do when we were managing a bunch of estheticians, is we built people up to be the best versions of themselves and find their niche and what works for them. Like, oh, I think you're really good at this. Mm-hmm. So we have found that it seems like there's a need for hands-on training for estheticians, and people have just been reaching out to us asking if we offer continuing education, which would be another source of income. But we're really good at that too.
It's all about, I think that you ladies are really good at a lot of things, and a lot of estheticians out there they don't necessarily realize what they're so good at because they're so close to it. But the most important thing for me is what makes you the happiest. It's not just about like, there's a million ways you could make $1 million, yeah. But you just have to figure out like what is going to help you to create the life that you want, where you can still be moms to your kids and pick them up from school and like have that, and then still make the revenue that you want to make. So it's all entirely possible. You just have to make that decision of, is this what I want to do? I think the aesthetics community would be thrilled if you decided that you wanted to do continuing education, because I have been saying for years that we need more leaders in this industry to stand up, to teach, to help the people coming in learn these things, because the reality is the major goal for so many estheticians out there is to get to 100,000. And there are women that have been 6, 7, 8 years in the business and are not there yet. And you guys did it in your first year, right? So that's something that is hugely important, because to do $100,000 in a year is $400 a day if you're opened 5 days a week, which is really not a huge amount of money considering the price points that we have and selling retail and whatnot. You need maybe 2 or 3 facials a day and then selling retail to do that. So the reality is it's not a lot of money. But the thing is, like, the women, so many women or so many estheticians in our industry struggle with the business side of things, because schools are designed just to teach you about the anatomy of skin and all of that kind of stuff. They don't teach you about the business. But I heard a stat that I think I heard it at the Beauty Business Summit, that like 70% of estheticians are solo. So you wonder why, there's such a huge, when you look at the schools and they're like, oh, only X% is actually working. And many people have an aesthetics degree and don't work. They can't make it because they don't know the business, which is why people like me exist and have opportunity to teach business. But I think that the more people that can teach, and especially being able to teach locally and in person, it's so powerful.
This whole business is about connection.
Oh, 100%.
Whether it's with professionals or whether it's just in your treatment room. I think especially like how you created a community, like that's what estheticians are craving, because most of the time, I mean, I feel so fortunate that we have each other. We say all the time, we can't even imagine doing this alone. So I couldn't imagine how a solo could possibly feel just being by themselves, and having somebody else and it not being competitive. I think that that's the biggest thing in this industry too, is it's almost like competitive, which it shouldn't be. We even say in our practice, we're like, we share our practice. So our clients go to both of us. And I don't think that that's like, especially with places I've worked at before, I'm not sure about you, it's a little competitive.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be. And, when I was, I'm just, Beauty Business Summit is on my mind right now because I was just there a couple of weeks ago, and the talk that I gave, I was looking up some stats, and there were, I think it was 187 million spa treatments or something insane.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, in 2017. And it's a $17.5 billion industry. So there's, for every spa out there, and there was 21,117 spas in 2017. So up in the US. So of those spas, if you take those spa visits, there's more, if you divide that by 17.5 billion, there's enough for every single spa to do plenty. So there's more, and we are one of the fastest growing industries. We're projected to grow 14% faster than average, according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. So there's so much opportunity here.
And I used to say that all the time when we managed a group of estheticians, is there's unlimitless amount of clientele. I mean, it's everywhere. They're everywhere. You don't need to gravitate to just one. Like, girls would be so incredibly competitive. That's my client. She used to see me. There are an endless amount of clients. Everybody that's walking outside right now could be a potential client. But if you have that mindset that you only are limited to a certain amount of clients, then you're only going to have a certain amount of clients.
And it's not even like, aesthetics. When I started 12 years ago, it was strictly a luxury, and the only thing that there was a therapeutic facial and microderm. Mm-hmm. And now there's so many options, and it's amazing because you can really focus on your ideal client or specialize in one particular thing and rock it.
Absolutely.
And people come to you because you're that person. And then you could refer, like we could refer to other estheticians like, oh, well, we don't do that, but this one does. So there's more than enough out there.
You know what will make you and I feel old, Sarah, as far as old being as estheticians? When I started, so I've been in the field about 13 years now. And I started in medical, and Botox was recently FDA approved. I think Botox is it's either 15 or 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
That it's been FDA approved for cosmetic use. It's been used for, hundreds of years for, like MS. It's been like ton for other kind of stuff, incontinence, hyperhidrosis, migraines, like all kinds of stuff. But to be used cosmetically, they discovered it treating cross-eye, and then it became FDA approved. Mm-hmm. And it's been 15, 16 years, something like that.
Isn't that long if you really, well, it doesn't feel that long to me, but.
No. I mean, but now we think of like any Joe Schmo on the street knows what Botox is.
Right, but it wasn't that way. Like our biggest goal, especially within our facility, is for people to, let's say, be on vacation and they find out that, oh, I have this going on, or I have inflammation or something, and they know based off of everything we've educated them that, oh, I need to use this. Mm-hmm. Our goal is to educate people, not that they don't need us, you still need treatments. But we want people to feel like they're retaining the information we're giving them, and they're able to help themselves as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Well, I am so excited for this journey with you guys. I think that this is just going to be an amazing year. I can't wait to see what you guys accomplish. I can't wait to show you all my spreadsheets.
Can't wait.
So for all of you guys that are going to be listening in on Sara and Melissa's journey, be sure to follow them. Where can they find you and follow you and keep track of your journey? I know you guys are on Instagram a lot, right?
We're on Instagram. We're probably the most active on Instagram and Facebook.
And is that at Sykes and Lanno?
Yeah, that's Sykes and Lanno.
Okay, perfect. Well, we will be having monthly updates. We'll get to hear your journey. I'm so excited. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you for having us.